Hi, thanks for joining us today with Connections. My name is Zack. I am our manager of cloud SEs here at Trend Micro. Previous to that, I have been a solution architect specifically focused on consulting partners and really helping partners transform into this new digital ecosystem with cloud providers and SaaS and all these different things and switching over how their revenue stuff's going on. So some of the stuff along that journey, we've really looked at some different ways of maybe how you as a partner can really drive some of that transformation and some lessons learned. So I'm joined today by a few of my friends here that have gone down some of this journey as well. So I have Fernando Cardoso, who is with Trend Micro. He is our manager of solution architects, specifically with our AWS Alliance team. I have Sid Mehta from AWS, and he is a senior partner solution architect on the migrations team. And I also have Jason Warman, who is the VP of technology at one of our partners, PacGenesis. And really, we're going to just kind of, as we go through here, have a back and forth conversation about everybody's experiences and maybe some best practices and ways that you can use some of this to help you guide your business and what you have going on. So, I guess to get started, Fernando and Sid, what have you seen over the last few years that's really maybe overlooked in a digital transformation journey when somebody is first starting out?
If I can start it first.
Absolutely, Fernando.
I think knowing the risks, vulnerabilities, and all the kind of threats that can be interconnected or involving your cloud infrastructure, it is one of the very important and very essential pieces, right? When you are creating the strategy of migrating to the cloud, including some kind of a lack of visibility, like how you can detect any kind of misconfiguration when you start migrating those cloud native applications, or also the workloads that you're starting migrating to AWS, how you can have a full visibility of all these technologies that AWS is offering for you. AWS offers an amazing platform with many different services and applications that you can utilize to create a very modern cloud native applications, right? But if you don't have the right visibility and the right technologies to apply on top of that, to improve the share responsibility, I think can be a little bit tricky for some organizations when they starting accelerating the process of the migration during this journey to the cloud.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Fernando, with everything that you're saying. One thing that I notice a lot is we always tell customers to have very clear business drivers and very clear goals from what they want to see out of that migration. I cannot emphasize how many times I see, deals or SOWs, that statement of work where there's some kind of migration happening, but the business drivers, the goals are not very clear. So it's a long journey. It's usually a transformation for a customer. It can be complex. Knowing the goals will help us focus on the priorities, what is really important. That way we can help build out pilots during the migration, that are effective to build the case. We can have tooling, that fits the best. Like you mentioned, AWS has a lot of services. There's a lot of third-party tools as well. It's all about knowing, what the customer wants to get out of it and how can we leverage, the right tool at the right time. We have a few different approaches as well that, we can take towards the transformation, towards the migration journey as well. So if they want to be more agile, then it's good to know that as well. If they want to see results more often, then I think it's good to know that as well. So I'll just add that piece. It really helps build a case, when the drivers are very clear. Obviously, if you're dealing with customers that are very sensitive, to security, then it's very good to capture those requirements upfront as well. We have public sector and gov cloud customers. It's very important that we capture their security and we have a comprehensive security plan, that is built to address their security requirements. And we are taking that upfront when we set up the account for them. So there's no surprises later on. There's no blockers later on, and it's a more smooth migration for them.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So, I definitely agree with those and the complexity and some of those things that are there. And as customers are figuring that out and doing those things, I think one of the pieces you're talking about, the tooling and the automation and those things can be such a benefit and a lift. And that's really how customers start a lot of times seeing the financial upside of a digital cloud transformation, right? Until they get that automation and putting those pieces in there. But sometimes it's really hard to do that. So that's why I'm excited that we actually have Jason here today to talk about PacGenesis and some of the things that they can do. So before we get into some of those questions, Jason, could you just share a little bit about, what is PacGenesis's areas of focus as far as your customers? What kind of pain points do you see? And then when your customers come to you, even if they don't know like what they need from a digital transformation perspective, what are the business outcomes and drivers that they're expecting you to help them deliver?
Yeah, absolutely. So PacGenesis, we specialize in digital file workflows, and sort of naturally around that, we have a heavy focus in media and entertainment, right? If you can imagine, media companies have this challenge of dealing in most of their workflows with both large file sizes and high volumes of files, right? That have their own set of challenges around it, right? And it's continually growing. Some of that's sort of gradual as your business expands, so does the amount that your work you're doing. But some of it also can come very quickly, right? If you think of like going from HD video to 4K or 4K to 8K, it's like all of a sudden you have a whole new set of challenges around it. So migrating some of these workflows to the cloud makes a lot of sense for our customers, and that's really where we kind of focus in. Our specialty has always been around sort of data migration, getting these large files in and out of the cloud, anything from like collaboration during production or post-production out to distribution, these finalized assets that need to get played out. But there's a lot of steps in between there, right? And a lot of automation that happens. And that's really where a lot of the additional benefits can come from. We've mentioned already a couple of times, there's so many more tools that are available in the cloud, even things, very simple like, the elemental, the media convert, the elastic transcoding that AWS has to offer, for example. Those are great pieces that you can fit into a media workflow, but it does kind of necessitate taking a step back and saying, let's not just lift and shift this thing over here. Let's actually take a look at the workflows and see where it makes sense to make a few changes along the way.
Yeah, no, I think that's key, and I think that's one of the great things that partners like yourself can definitely provide, right? Because you have some of that insight. I think it's really exciting is that we see partners that really kind of sometimes specialize in more industries. So like where you're the media and stuff that you're talking about. And because you have that experience, you can bring some business insights and some ways of maybe approaching problems and stuff from that specialty. And I see that in other verticals and other areas as well, that some of the partners are really kind of specializing in, because they are now shifting gears a little bit, but still kind of staying in there. Do you have any advice for some of these partners that are maybe starting to figure out how they fit into the cloud ecosystem and digital transformation, and maybe how they can apply some of the DNA of who they are to this transformation themselves?
Yeah, I think, there's a couple of key pieces. One of them is to take advantage of the resources that are out there. And by that, I mean, there's a lot of things that are built into the cloud in AWS, for example, that are there to help you take your domain knowledge and your expertise and apply them to the cloud. But there are also other partners. We work with other partners quite a bit, as we all have our own specialties to put a solution together for a customer and get that good outcome. And of course, there's also, the pieces from, folks like Trend that are there that are, cloud native already, and let you sort of check boxes to say, we're going to be able to address all of these sort of unknowns or things that are a little bit different about the cloud as we focus on the business drivers that are getting us there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And thanks for sharing those pieces. As you were talking about a lot of that, I started thinking about how, a lot of what you're talking about are all customer driven and those things. And, I've been working in the cloud space and working a lot with AWS for almost a decade. And so Sid, I know you've been at AWS for a number of years. One of the things that I really love about AWS is the tenet of customer obsession, and on how really anything that's happening in the services that are driven in the whether it's professional services or the actual services within the AWS platform itself, and all those things are driven by customer needs, customer desires, all those things. So I'm wondering if maybe you could share a little bit about what you've seen over the years and kind of maybe how that's changed your approach to some of those things and some of the really innovative pieces that you've seen from a customer obsession standpoint.
Absolutely. Most of our services the features are prioritized based on what the customers need, but more importantly, migration to AWS has been a top priority for AWS. It's only second to security on top of AWS. Security is job zero here at AWS, and which is where Trend Micro is such a great partner to have. But second thing is migrations. So we've at AWS we've listened to our customers. We've heard that they need help. They're looking for best practices, especially when it comes to large migrations. So we've got a program, two programs actually that have been developed. We have the AWS Migration Competency Program, where we differentiate partners that can demonstrate their expertise, their skill, and consistency with how they handle migrations to AWS. And we've also got the AWS MAP program, which is called the Migration Acceleration Program. So partners that are part of this MAP program, they could either be, they could be migration competency partners that can help customers migrate to AWS, or we could be looking at partners that are aligned with industry verticals. Could be healthcare, could be media, could be, some financial services. They can leverage their existing competencies to get funded, for various parts of the customer's migration journey. And the program has multiple facets to it. I think when our customers are able to work with our partners, that are part of the competency and can leverage the MAP program, these partners are skilled at navigating them through the various set of AWS tools and services, the funding programs, and they can help them build solutions on top of AWS, that follow prescriptive guidance, that are leveraging some of the best practices when it comes to security and governance of their workloads in the cloud.
Awesome. Now, Fernando, I know, a lot of what you do is, working with AWS to help, define how Trend Micro works within a lot of the programs that Sid was just talking about. Do you have any takeaways that you want to make sure that our partners know, where you think it's really key for them to understand how Trend Micro and Cloud One specifically might be able to help them really grow some of those different facets of what the programs that Sid was just talking about?
Jason was mentioning about the guardrails, right? How customers should be setting up and how the partners are helping them to setting up the guardrails. It is really important, mainly because this way they can start in building the foundation, and any new accounts that they will go to be creating through a control tower or AWS organizations, they have the basics of security and protection and the minimum of visibility that they needed to grow the organizations, right? And I think we have amazing integrations with a control tower, with many other technologies, Security Hub, SNS services, and a couple additional things that can help the customers to create all these guardrails with a control tower, with workload security and a couple other services from Cloud One, right? That can help this a foundation. The second piece Sid was mentioning about the competencies, right? And I've been working really heavily with AWS last year to achieve 3 competencies with DevOps, with focus on the DevSecOps one, the healthcare competency, and also the new security one. And this helps also show to the customers and to the partners that we have this ability as a security ISVs to not just deliver security, but deliver security to these specifically verticals that is so important for a lot of those partners, right? As Jason mentioned, they are very focused in media, but I know they also offer a lot of different solutions for healthcare, for financial, and for other things, right? And this is one of the things that we are trying to get more connected with AWS. This way, partners can utilize our technologies to easily deliver those competencies as a service, right? Because every single time when you go and see the AWS competency, there is basically 2 different types. One is the software and one is the service, right? Software is associated with the ISVs as us, and the services one, it is associated with PacGen and many other partners that they are offering those services on top of AWS, right? And I remember the last week I was talking with a partner, and they said oh, you guys are applying for this new competency with AWS. That's amazing because we want to do this year, and we didn't know which kind of tooling we should be using and all those kind of things. And when I shared those information to them, it's oh man, would be perfect. Utilizing your solutions with us here, we will accelerate the process of achieving new competencies, getting more MDF from AWS to help them to create a more marketing campaigns, and also getting all the benefits that every single competency can deliver for customers, right? I think this combination between knowing well how to utilize things that we are working with AWS and the partner that it is trying to help the organizations, these 3 hands work, partner, AWS, and us, I think it is really, really important, right? Because we can not just rely in each other, but this is a complement, right? This is putting our 3 hands together to accelerate and to increase the way how we can achieve the customer goals, right? If you see the Cloud One platform and also the Vision One, how we are unified and centralized as a platform to help those organizations to have a full visibility for their cloud security across multiple AWS accounts, right? For cloud misconfigurations, for protecting the buckets, protecting the EC2s, workspaces, and many other pieces, and having all this integrated with single pane of glass, it is really, really important for our partners on how they are going to deliver those services, because it can make their life way easier to offer as a service, as a MSSP or some kind of the cloud security consulting for their customers, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And as we get close here to the end of our time and I wrap up, I think those are some great points, right? So being able to look at how those different pieces can come together, and really it's a kind of like that journey of it's the AWS and the ISV and the partner coming together, right? And in this case, Trend Micro, being able to help create that and really deliver the journey and the business outcomes that the customer is really seeking and doing, right? I think some of the big things that I took away from are, definitely if you are not yet involved, you should get involved with the partner resources that AWS has available. And we can definitely help you connect through that through your partner managers here at Trend. The other side of it is I really love from Jason of saying, know who you are as a partner and being able to figure out how you can use that in the digital transformation piece to really differentiate yourself and be able to offer something to your customers that you really have that expertise in, and being able to do that. And that really, I think, aligns with the customer obsession in those pieces. And then from on the Trend side and with Fernando is that, whatever you're doing and whatever you're building, make sure that it's automatable, it's scalable, it's going to be able to run after you put it in place so that as a customer expands, they go from beginning of a digital transformation to a full-blown expansion and really start really becoming a cloud native or a cloud transformed company. The tooling and stuff that you're going to have in place is going to do that. So it's been a great talk. I want to thank Fernando, Sid, and Jason for joining me. And until next time, thank you for joining Trend Micro at Connections.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.